The actress and comedian Bette Midler is calling for a sex strike among women, I guess nationwide, to protest the Texas anti-abortion law. Now, when I'm thinking about this, I'm first thinking about it, why would somebody propose a sex strike? Well, there are, I suppose, all kinds of reasons for it. Could be political. But it occurred to me, wow, look at Bette Midler. I mean, has she been on an involuntary sex strike since, I don't know, 2004? This is, by the way, I tweeted this out on social media. It caused a big furor. People are screaming, Dinesh, have you looked in the mirror lately? Well, I'm not proposing a sex strike, guys. Bette Midler is. So, I mean, I gotta say, and Debbie knows this, so she's kind of smiling about this, but I have this ability. I call it a gift. Not everybody else does. To produce this sputtering outrage on the left in which they're like, one of my delights when speaking sometimes, even on campuses, somebody would literally get up and run shrieking out of the room. They just couldn't their mind was too discombobulated. And to me, it was kind of a confirmation that I was on the right path and need to sort of ramp it up, if anything. So in any case, here's Bette Midler. She's advocating, well, she doesn't know anything about this, but she's advocating what can be called the Lysistrata strategy. Now, what is that? Well, it turns out there's kind of a very interesting ancient Greek precedent for this. A play by Aristophanes called Lysistrata, in which a woman named Lysistrata is very angry about the Peloponnesian War. Why? Because all the men are away. And so the women don't have male company. They don't have their brothers, their fathers, their husbands. And so she decides to get the husbands back. Well, how? She decides, I'm going to organize all the women of Greece, and we're going to go on a sex strike. We're basically going to refuse to have sex until our husbands basically call into the war, essentially reestablish the peace and come home. Now, you have to realize in Greek society, this concept of women like organizing in this way, coming into public, calling for public meetings, meeting at the agora, was just considered preposterous. And sure enough, the play plays on this and takes advantage of this, because when Lysistrata organizes, and the women are all up for it, they're like, yeah, that's it, this is going to work. You have this whole remarkable drama of comic reversals, because what you have is, basically what the women are saying is, listen, that in order for us to get peace in Athens, we got to go to war. But it's a new kind of war. We're not Athenian women fighting against Sparta. We're Athenian and Spartan women uniting against our enemy, our husbands. But they're not our real enemy. Our goal is really to kind of bring them to heal. Our real goal is to withhold sex in order to sort of restore domestic harmony. We don't actually want to permanently expel our husbands. We're not radical feminists here. What we want to do is bring our husbands back home so we can have normal domestic life. So women have to become more combative or masculine and make the men more feminine, which is to say make them surrender in order to restore, if you will, tranquility and domestic harmony. And the play has a happy ending, because the men finally surrender. There's a kind of dramatic case of the peace, and there's all this Aristophanic humor along the way. This one man is trying to convince his wife, to go to bed, and she keeps delaying him and saying things like, the bed is not ready, the maids are here, I can't do this, I can't do that. So one excuse on top of the other, and finally she has to pour cold water on him to sort of settle him down a little bit. So this is very much Aristophanes. In the culminating scene, by the way, the magistrate says to the women, he goes, this is very disgraceful, for women to get involved in these state matters. And Lysistrata says, very powerfully, she says, listen, these state matters affect us. They affect women. She goes, and women have more at stake in marriage than men. And here you have Aristophanes saying things like, a woman's beauty is gone with the first gray hair. What? Debbie's like, what? Are you kidding me? It's not true. Not in her case. But in any event, I think, if I may bring this back to Bette Midler, I want to make this point, that it's really ironic that Bette Midler is calling for women to go on a sex strike, which is to say, let's keep our legs crossed. Because if women actually practice this kind of abstinence or use birth control, they wouldn't need abortions in the first place. I don't know if that thought has crossed the mind of Bette Midler.